Welcome to RGES Pre-Algebra. This is Lesson 13A, where we'll be discussing order of operations in algebraic expressions. Recall, first of all, that we've already discussed order of operations. We sometimes use the expression PEMDAS to help us remember. This means parentheses, which is really a way to reorder things from the normal way of doing it. Exponents, multiplication and division, these two are looked at together from left to right, and addition and subtraction from left to right. An order of operations does matter. For instance, if I had 3 plus 7 times 2, if I'm doing the 3 plus 7 first, let's say order of operations just meant moving from left to right. That would be 10 times 2, or 20. But if I did the 7 times 2 first, that would be 3 plus 14, or 17. And these are not the same. So we have to decide together by convention which one we're going to do first so that everybody will get the same answer and will understand what we're talking about. And in fact, this is the proper answer because multiplication is always done before addition. PEM, multiplication, right there, before addition. Okay, so you have been exposed to that before. Now what we're going to do now is learn to do it with algebraic expressions. So we'll look at 5 examples here, and we're just going to follow PEMDAS. If you haven't memorized that already, make sure you memorize that and know what it means. Parentheses, then exponents, multiplication and division from left to right, addition and subtraction from left to right. Now, anytime you're then called to evaluate an expression, you want to get a game plan in your mind of what order you're going to do things in. So I will need to do the division first and then the addition in this first example. So I will be doing this and then this. So my first step will be 9 plus 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 9 plus 5 is 14. In my next example, notice this division line here, the fraction line, is treated like a parenthesis. So I will do what's above the parenthesis, and then I will do the squaring below the parenthesis, and then I will do my division indicated by, what's above the fraction line, which I'm treating like a parenthesis, really means do what's above, what's below, then do the division, then do the addition. So I'll have 4 steps. I'll do this step, I'll do this step, I'll do this step, the division itself, and then I'll do the addition over here. So I'm going to get 9 over. Since it's not interfering, I can do step 2 also. 3 squared is 9 plus 1. Now I'll do this division. 9 over 9 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 1 plus 1 is 2. For the next one, my game plan, I need to do what's in parentheses first, then recall that a number next to a parenthesis sign is a multiplication, so I'll do this multiplication second and the addition third. Now you don't have to write that 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, 4, the steps, but you do want to think them through. You want to have an overall plan before you approach it. 8 minus 3 is 5. Now my multiplication. Now my addition. 2 more. Okay. First off, how many steps am I going to have here? Notice that this parentheses, it's sometimes helpful to see where our parentheses are, the groupings are. I'm going to have to do this inner parentheses first, and then I'm going to have to, in this set of parentheses, the next set of parentheses, I have both a multiplication operation right there and an addition operation right there. I'm going to have to do the multiplication first, and then the addition. Sorry, my markers. There we go, getting it to write correctly. At that point, I've done everything, but what's outside this also is a multiplication, and I'll do that last. So that's given me my game plan. Let's go ahead and execute it. This is a 4. 8 minus 3 is 5, plus 6. So I took care of the inner parentheses. Now the next group of parentheses, this is a multiplication. 4 times 5, 20 plus 6. Then I add what's in the parentheses, so this would be 6 times 26, and finally I'll do my multiplication. 6 times 6 is 36, 12, 15. Last one, do what's in the parentheses first, do this multiplication, do this addition. Hopefully this is becoming easier with every one we do. 5 plus 2 times 7 minus 3 is 4. Do my multiplication. 5 plus 2 times 4 is 8. And finally, my addition. So that's what you're going to be doing in 4.5, order of operations. Now we'll move on to the next idea, which is 4.6. And that will have to do with evaluating algebraic expressions. Now recall that to evaluate means to substitute values for letters or for variables in a problem and then find what the value of the entire thing would be once you've done your operations. And of course, to do the second part of that, you need to follow your order of operations. So to evaluate an expression, we're going to do 2 steps. We're going to substitute, and then we're going to pay attention to order of operations. Substitute a value for a variable, and then solve it or figure out the answer by doing order of operations. Now let me give you several problems then to illustrate this. Okay, we've written out several examples here. Our very first step will always be substitution. That means I will take the 3 and plug it in wherever I see an X, and I'll take the 2 and plug it in or substitute every time I see a Y. So that's always your first step. Now, as you're doing this, evaluate what's being done. This is being multiplied. So I can't just say 23, that would be ridiculous. But I would have to say something to indicate that I'm multiplying. So I could say 2 times 3, and like that, or I could say 2 times 3 like that. Either way. And plugging in my 2 for my Y. So that's my substitution step. Now I need to evaluate by doing order of operations just as you did in the last lesson. I need to multiply before I add. So 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. Another example, plugging in a 4 when I see an X and a 7 when I see a Y. I've got 3. Now notice what's happening here. I'm multiplying by X, or 4 squared. 3x squared Y. And again, I'm multiplying, because they're next to each other, by the Y value, which is in this case 7. So in this one, that's how I would substitute. Then I need to do my exponent first. Then I need to do a multiplication and then another multiplication. So this would be 3 times 16 times 7. Then I'm going to multiply these two from left to right, although in this case the answer won't differ. But 3 times 6 is 18, 3 and 48 times 7, and my last multiplication, 56, that'd be 28, 33. Okay. So again, we substitute, and then we just do it one step at a time by order of operations. Next one, substituting an X, for a 3 for an X and a 5 for a Y. We're going to get 4 times, notice how important it is that I keep putting that times sign in there, or multiplication sign. X is 3 squared minus 2 times y is 5. Okay, now you'd go very wrong if you didn't remember when to put in that multiplication sign. I need to do this next. 4 times 3 squared is 9 minus. I could go ahead and do this. It's not interfering with anything else, so I could do that multiplication. 2 times 5 is 10. We'll do that multiplication. 36, and 36 minus 10 is 26. Okay, on the next page I'll show you a couple more examples. Moving on, we want to go ahead and do our substitution. 25 minus 2 to the 4th power. To your power next. 25 minus, just writing everything down just as you see it. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8 times 2 is 16. And finally, my subtraction, 25 minus 16 would be 9. The next one looks a little more complicated, but the approach is exactly the same. We're going to substitute, getting 3 to the 3rd plus 3 squared minus 3 plus 3 all over 4. Notice these two will cancel out. I'll do my 2 powers. 3 to the 3rd is 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. Plus 3 squared is 3 times 3, or 9. The other 3's cancel out, all over 4. 27 plus 9. Recall that this is like a parenthesis. I have to do the whole numerator before I can do that division. So 27 plus 9 is 36 divided by 4, and 36 divided by 4 is 9. So that's what you'll be doing for homework today. Let me glance over and see if there's anything I think might cause you trouble. It looks like you should be fine. You'll have a couple of fractions and decimals to deal with. That's going to be a good review for you on your sharpening skills. You'll be simplifying polynomials. Remember that you're always thinking about the idea of adding like terms or subtracting like terms. I would actually, on those sharpening skills, where you probably the best order is to simplify the polynomial first by adding like terms, and then going ahead and doing your substitution and evaluation. However, that's just my suggestion. It could be done either way, and the answer would be the same. Have a couple of word problems there, and we'll see you in class. Have a wonderful day.